Alrighty, today we are covering props from signs to buildings, no matter the size. Even trees are in it, and as well as guardrails, which we already covered. So let's get to it. The most important part is reference, because you need to get the correct scalings, so correct height, thickness, angles, and all the stuff to make them look correct. And also you need all the textures. An easy way is obviously simply to use Google Pictures and search for signs, for example. Because building them in 3D is quite simple, since they are just basic shapes. But you do need to get all of the signs. If you want to get the measurements, simply ask Google or Brave or whatever search engine you want to use. So German sign measure. Let's see. That's a nice coverage of all the different signs, which I could take the pictures from. But do I get the height of it? I do not. So let's go back and simply search for the height. Thank you for inches. Now, this is an important piece of information, and that's basically your job to do. Warning signs are placed 150 meters to 250 meters before approaching the danger. Which means keep that in mind when placing them. But right now, I would like to get the height of it. Probably easier to search in German when it's German street signs, but if you're not German and want to build German track, that would be a bit different, so it's just your ability to search. I know that 2 meters is the absolute minimum for signs, and with pedestrian works, there should be 2 meters and 20 high. So what does that mean? If we go back to Blender, simply choose one of them. I did not want to render this, which means the edge. Hello, can I add something? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm in pose mode, obviously. Don't need any of these. So if I add a cube with 2.2 meters, put this up by 1.1, means that my scaling of this object is wrong. Since the height of the main sign needs to be 2 meters and 20 centimeters high. And as you can see, the rest of this is quite simple. This is a simple circle with Shift plus A. I can add a circle, scale it up, and, well, just add a triangle. Well, I do not have a triangle, I just use a plane and merge the top vertices together and then beveled them. There's also the part that I did not bevel these. So if we bevel this with that say 3 loop cuts, we can shade this smooth and it would look better. Also, shade auto smooth is really. Let's go back. The current problem is that my geometry here is a big n-gon. So I will also fix this. Oops, so here, also this side. Just to join them together. And then the same right on the top. Now it's all quads. Nearly all quads. And now let's just add a bevel modifier. It's a bit easier. So I do not need to select anything myself. And if we shade this smooth now, you can see the difference. There's no shading artifact. And we have a smooth edge. It's just better. For the top part, it actually works without cleaning up the n-gon. That's great. It's also a lot of the times that there's a cap on top. So you can just extrude this along the normal, and we go to the UV maps. I do have all of these together, and we will get to this part really, really soon. I will just unwrap this, scale to 0, and put this on a black patch. I probably should. Unwrap 0, somewhere black. So this looks quite decent. Now, one thing that you can see here, it's quite smooth. So there's no dirt or any other part. That's something that's definitely missing here. And that's probably the key to having a good looking track, is to add dirt to everything. Now there are a few methods. You could add it to this texture, which is the way I would do it in that case. And while we're at this, I will also go over why I have all of these in one texture. That's simply performance optimization. Right simply, the only reason. But it also helps me because I can just open paint.net even. So let's see. Texture. Just need to find it. Under here. Modding track. Science. And now I can simply add a new channel and find anything that's a dirt web, or anything that's even not a dirt web, anything that looks like grunge. That looks like, yeah, simply grunge. I can even take this, what's it called? Stone thing. Put it in and open it, copy it. And I will scale this and will duplicate it. Don't really care if it's seamless or not in that case. And now I will take this channel and change the the method of blending. So just select anything that looks good to you. I usually use multiply, and then you play with the what's it called, the alpha, because that's way too much. Maybe something like 80. Press OK. And we'll also select the alpha channel, so we still have an alpha, and delete this right out of here. And now these are dirty and unique. Now I can merge them down together and save them as a DDS. I will make the second one. Back in Blender. I go to the shade editor and replace this with our new lines. Drag. All right. As you can see, this looks way better because we have some, let's call it, depth in the texture. Now, that's how you basically can do all the signs, no matter if it's this sign. I'm gonna get a bit more light in here. It's that kind of sign. These signs, they're all basic shapes. And also here, there is the bevel modifier missing, probably in all of them. Just take a look. I'm not sure if you can see this quite good, but this looks more cartoonish. Let's call it cartoonish. And with this, you have the roundness, because there is no hard edge in anything really. Even the hardest edges, unless you're talking about a knife, then you could maybe get away with a hard edge. But usually everything does have a bevel. Yeah, let's call it a bevel. A smoother edge. If we go to the building and let's build it. Hello building. Here I also have quite a few hard edges. I could simply add the bevel modifier. Put this before. Let's see how this works, if it works. Yeah, maybe you should not drag and drop the segments. That's probably not the smartest idea. Let's see, is the size correct? The size is correct. Let's go with %. And we can bevel this a bit. Let's go with 3 segments. And we can shade it smooth. Did an issue here. Let's go 0.1% maybe. We can limit the angles right there with like 50 degrees. And we have some better edges. In that case, it fucked up quite a bit. Let's go with 80 degrees angle, limit method 90 degrees. Just play around with the settings. You can also make it absolute, so it's around every corner. Depth, not sure. Offset, also no idea. % is quite something nice. And we are rid of these angles. So we get rid of these hard, harsh angles. Maybe 1%. If we go back right now, turn it off, on. It just gives a slight better result. Now, if you want to model something, again, reference is key. We can go to Google Pictures. In that case, I wanted an old German house. And I went for the style of the Fachwerkhaus, what it's called. Took a few references and simply build it. Now, as you can see, I do have some dirt in here, or a slight imperfection map, which I can control. That's the wrong one. I already made the perfect texture here, but now here I could control it to get more of this dirt map. And that's like, in Germany would call it a Trick 17, which is basically a handy tool to create an effect, which is basically cheating. In that case, you build something complex with a really simple method. And what I did here, all of these are simple shapes, by the way. As you can see, if I go right there, I simply let's see. Is it dark? I hope not. Oh, right there. Don't know what the heck is going on here. Probably the bevel modifier. It is. Okay, fixed it. So what I did, I have a simple wall texture, which is basically plus the white, this. Not sure if YouTube with the compression you can even see a lot of the details because there are not a lot. There's no dirt. For the wood, clean wood. For the bricks, somewhat dirty, but also not at all. And what I did, I selected, got into edit mode, selected all of the materials I want to get dirty. So the white wall, select. Make sure you're in face selection. And wood, select. All bricks, select. Wall beige, select. Windows, I did not edit. Roof, yes. Is Rollladen shades. Nah, that's fine. And the white wall. Then I duplicated them. Separated them. Now I have a second part. I can delete all of the materials. Go into edit mode, press Alt plus E, extrude along normals. And as you can see, I can make them slightly bigger. And that's what I do with probably 0.05, like 5 centimeters. And then I did add my imperfection map with imperfection map, which is just a slight variation of two imperfections put on top of each other. To control them, I can simply select the part I want. In that case, before I should do this before I delete the textures. Press Ctrl plus, and now I can scale this. So in the UVs, I just press U projection probably, and then scale this up or down. As we can see, for example, right there, you can see the imperfection gets more repetitive if it's bigger and less repetitive if it's darker. To make this more visible, do it like this. Now this mode doesn't look really repetitive, which is great. We go to UV, scale this up. You can see it repeat down here quite a lot, and also on the top. Now, the reason behind this method is quite simple. Usually, I would say bake all of the details in, just like we did in part, I think, 3 or 4. But what happens if you want to build a small city? I do have a plan for a track where there will be a few hundred, even maybe a few thousand buildings with this level of detail, probably a little bit less because they're not all Fachwerkhäuser, Fachwerkhouses. So a little bit less dense. And they all should have a different type of dirt applied to it. Now, if I want to build all the buildings properly, I would have at least, well, I can stack them together. So one texture for maybe 4 to, let's say, 10 buildings. And I would end up at a shit ton of textures. For reference, you should go for around 80 textures per K5 file. So if I have 500 houses, I already have way too many slots blocked with just the houses, which is not covered by things like the polars right here. Also, simple shape, you can see beveled. This one is reflective, the other part's not. And also, let's say, fences. There will be a lot of fences. You should also easily stack them together. So something I wanted to start here, but I did not get to it so far. I have one wood texture up here, which will be scaled to the left and right and put some imperfections on it. The next wood right under it, and so on. So I have one texture for wood and not 5 textures for all the wood parts. The same I would do with fences. If I have a fence in here, there should be one. Road markings should also be in ones. Here I have the logos for the car manufacturers because I plan to build dealerships for all of them, or I have built a few of them. Here are a few fence types, which is fine, but which means one texture slot gone, second texture slot gone. Why not combine them? Here, third one, fourth one. We could even use this one as well in the fence department. If I go right here, I should have fences, which I built in Blender and rendered it out. So I have the control. So rusty, not rusty, green, metal, and a second type. There will also be following a few more, which will be available on my Gumroad. A few for free, and the other ones you sadly have to pay, or you can just build them by yourself. If you need help with that, I will make a video. Tell me to do it, and I will. Yes. So, more for props. Building props is basically reference. Search for reference, use it. You can use fSpy. If this helps for you, fSpy. fSpy.io. Oh, search still image camera matching. What does it do? There are a lot of, there are no basics. You get a picture and you want to match your camera to the picture so you get the same focal length and the correct axis. You can simply tell what's straight. In that case, what is what axis? For example, the red one, probably the x-axis. The green, in that case, z-axis or whatever. And then you can import this into Blender. And from there on, you can easily model this. There are a lot of tutorials for this. Simply search for F by Blender. And to be fair, any of them is probably worth watching. Just search for a YouTuber that seems sympathetic to you. Or you can simply say, okay, I want a specific house. Let's say this one. Load it into fSpy. This is T-axis, X-axis, and Y-axis right there. And then import it and you can easily model it. You can even bake the textures to it as well. Maybe get some scratching or different detail level where it is. But it's easy to recreate things like. And then there is one more thing I want to address, and that is basically scattering all of this. Not, then we just build it. So let's add a plane, geometry node, new, scattering. Or, in that case, actually not scattering, but randomize. I have all of my signs in a different collection. If I put them in here, click on relative, separate children, to rotate them. Let's just pull the collection in here and add a simple rotate instances. Now we can add a combine XYZ, put this into the rotation, and we can randomize these values with a random value. So from 0 to 0.05 maybe. Add this to the X, Y, and Z. Index, use the index as the seed. Means all of them have a slightly different Oh, let's see if we can even go 0.2. 0.2 is too much. 0.1. Play with these values to get the look you want. 0.05 is probably the best for this. Which means if I go to the signs, duplicate one, I do have realized them, so they're all in one, and now I can just hide this part. Yes, correct. Now they're all together, and that's what I wanted to go for. And each thing I will add, if I add this one, that's quite tilted a lot, but just gives a little bit of spice.